All Bowls, Episode 2. Now the cup match with All Bowls was only 2 days away. Some of the Squirrel lads said they'd booked a holiday and couldn't wait to get away. But Dave, the team captain, called the lads together and they answered his call. Bill, John, Jerry, Brian T and Brian P, and of course, me, one and all. Some had been to the doctors that morning. They said their nerves were shot, they weren't sleeping, and they spoke of eyes of tears. The doctor said, "There's nothing I can do. Go home and take some paracetamol. It's probably just a touch of flu." "That's no good," Bill said to John. "In 2 days' time we've got to face murderers and criminals. What good is paracetamol?" Now a young lad from the village overheard the conversation. "Can I help?" he said. "I might have something that could be your salvation." Brian said he thought he knew him, but he was no relation. Did they have to deal with this lad? They had to decide. Bill said, "I think I might know him. He might have been inside." But what could they do? Each night they kissed their kids and wives. Those guys in All Bowls were murderers, and they feared for their very lives. On Wednesday, what would happen? Some of them might not come home again. So they asked the lad what had he got. The lad said, "I've got the lot. Blueies, uppers, downers, crowners. Are a mixture of all, plus Devil's Drop, and something called Dewy, and they taste quite fruity and rather chewy." John said, "I'll take quite a few." And then he changed his mind and said, "Give me 5. And then he changed his mind again and said, "Give me 52. Well, that should do. Money changed hands, and the lads were feeling better. In fact, rather grand. But the lads thought they should try 1 or 2 to make sure that they were all right. In 15 minutes, all they wanted to do was to make love or start a fight. In fact, one of their wives said it was better than a wedding night. The lads were feeling on top of the world, and Wednesday soon came round, and they were all bowls bound. They all took a pill, and it seemed that we're floating right off the ground. When they reached the prison, they took 2 more. They banged on the prison door, "Open up, or we'll break the damn thing down." They were ready to take on the world or any army. But there was one strange thing. Brian was ripping up newspaper, a sort of origami. The warden opened up the gates. She didn't look too pleased. Dave stopped and wondered, had he collected all the bowling fees? At a glance, the prisoners had murder in their eyes, and he might not get another chance. The prisoners, all their faces grim, their eyes red on fire. They looked formidable. One even had some barbed wire. Dave did not need to worry. The Squirrel team were cool. They gathered on the green and sang 3 choruses of God Save the Queen. Biff, the All Bowls captain, stood forward and pointed at Dave. You and me, captain to captain, in the clubhouse now. Biff thought Dave as frightened as a little mouse. They stood there man to man. Another time Dave might have ran, but the pill's working now. Then Dave said, "Bring it on," as he crushed a tango can. In the clubhouse there came a sound of screams and breaking glass and even burning rubber. Outside the prisoners smiled and nodded to each other. Then Biff came flying through the window and ended up on the green crying for his mother. Dave appeared in the doorway, standing 10 feet tall. He pointed at Biff. "Bring your father and your brothers. I'll take them on, one and all." Then Slasher took a swing at Bill. Bill ducked, then caught him with an uppercut flush on the chin, which sent him flying backwards, and he ended up unconscious next to a wastepaper bin. Then Tonka said to Dave, "I come from Saigon." Jerry said, "I come from down south." Then he hit him in the mouth, and knocking out his 2 front teeth, sending him flying off his feet. The rest of All Bowls' team squared up to the Squirrel lads. Brian and Brian too. There was Bill and Dave and John and me. We the lads stood tall and said, "Bring it on. Give it your best." Then, out of nowhere, Brian produced his origami, a pigeon sitting on a newspaper nest. At this the warden stepped in. Things were getting out of hand, and a job was on the line. The Squirrel lads said, "We're here to play. It's only 2:30. We still have plenty of time." Well, the game was played and the Squirrel won 5-1. The warden was the only one to win for All Bowls. Some say it's because she was such a flirt, or maybe it was because she was wearing a miniskirt. It didn't matter. The All Bowls team had long faces. They were nursing cuts and bruises. The Squirrel lads were on high spirits and full of chatter. The reign of fear was over. All Bowls called it a day, and no one wanted to be a bowler. Now they all play cricket and want to bowl a maiden over. God knows what they'll do with the heavy roller. The Squirrel lads were over the moon, and on their way home they stopped off at a pub to celebrate a fabulous afternoon. After 10 pints, Dave raised his glass and said here's to Elvis, and stood on the bar to sing. Had he taken any more pills? I don't know, but I think he sounded more like Bing. They all got home after midnight, and in the morning they couldn't remember a damn thing. Well, you will be glad to hear that's the end of our little story. That's all from me. Just look at the time. I've missed my chocolate biscuit and Earl Grey cup of tea. I just can't write any more. Anyway, I've got 2 Jehovah's Witnesses knocking at my door.